Welcome to In Focus with Silvana Pavlovska podcast. Today is Friday, the 16th of December, 2022. I have great pleasure in introducing Professor Irena Vodenska from Boston University, the United States of America. Professor Vodenska credentials include PhD in Econophysics, Masters in Economics, and Masters in Business Administration. Professor Vodenska is currently visiting in Australia, and I want to extend a warm welcome to you, Professor Irena, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Silvana. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure talking to you, and it's great to be able to participate in this conversation. I'm really honored, and I also am very happy to be in Australia.
Could you please provide some background information on your professional experience and education and the reasons why you are currently in Australia?
Of course, I have been in Australia this week, and in 1 week I have two conferences in Melbourne and Sydney, and I will give you more details about both presentations. But to go a little bit further in history, further back in history, I was born in Skopje in Macedonia and lived in Štip, where I went to the Slavko Stoimenski High School, studying mathematics and informatics, which was pioneering at the time when I studied that in the 80s. I then later went to the University of Belgrade for my undergraduate degree in computer information systems and graduated in 93. And then I moved to the United States on a Fulbright fellowship in 1994 to go to graduate school and obtained the MBA or Master of Business Administration from Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee. Later, I worked in investment banking in both Nashville and New York City in Manhattan. And I was there in 2001, where the tragic terrorist attack happened on September 11th on Manhattan. And after that event, we decided that it will be a good time to move to Boston. It was very difficult emotionally to be in New York City at the time where I was working in the investment banking. I was working in the industry, and I lost many friends. We moved to Boston in 2002. And later I obtained the master's in economics and a PhD in econophysics, which is also a statistical finance. So I've lived and studied and worked in Boston now for over 20 years. Currently, I'm chair of the Administrative Sciences Department at Metropolitan College, one of the 16 schools and colleges at Boston University. Boston University is the fourth largest private university in the United States with over 35,000 students. And within the Metropolitan College, we have different departments. One of the departments is the Administrative Sciences Department, where the management programs are housed. And I'm currently in charge of 7 such programs, including innovation and entrepreneurship, global marketing management, supply chain management, project management, applied business analytics, enterprise risk management, and financial management, for which program I am also a director, and I have updated or renewed that program about 6-7 years ago. And this is where my primary faculty position is in the financial management program. Within the department, we have about 1,500 to 2,000 students. We have grown significantly in the last 6-7 years. when we changed the programs and the way we updated the management programs. We made them more specialized, we made them more hands-on, offering students participation in real-world projects through internships and capstone projects where they are advised by an industry advisor and also by an academic advisor. And they solve problems that are currently being solved in the investment banks, in other financial institutions, for example, from the financial management program. And this is really a win-win situation because the corporations are getting different way of thinking and contribution to their issues, and students are getting invaluable experience. And usually when they have job interviews, this is the best opener for somebody to get a job, a good job, because students can say that they have actually worked on a specific project, they have solved specific problem, and companies value that they can, from day one, when they hire them, really be productive member of their team. So they're involved in academic research, and besides the theoretical aspect of the research, they do have applied aspect where they analyze data. They are taught to visualize the data, to create the stories with the answers of the research question that they're exploring. And specifically, my research focuses on network theory and complexity science in macroeconomics. I conduct theoretical and applied interdisciplinary research using quantitative approaches for modeling interdependencies of financial networks, banking system dynamics, and studying global financial crisis. I model early warning signals and systemic risk propagation throughout interconnected financial and economic networks. I also studied the effect of news announcements on financial markets, corporations, and financial institutions and related global economic systems. This is interdisciplinary research, and I use machine learning, neural networks, and deep learning methodologies for natural language processing to text mine the important factors affecting corporate performance and global economic trends. And I teach investment analysis and portfolio management, international finance and trade, financial regulation and ethics, and derivatives, securities, and markets. I'm also a chartered financial analyst, charter holder, which is a professional designation for portfolio managers. And this year, 2022, I also obtained the certificate in ESG investing, which stands for environmental, social, and governance responsibilities of the corporations, focusing on the importance of the corporations to consider environmental issues, to consider social issues, and to be aware and improve governance factors. And these are all put into consideration in investment decision-making.
Mm-hmm. And what was the reason that brought you here to Australia?
Right. So Australia is, as you know, quite far from the United States, but I have a very compelling reason to be here because I had an opportunity to present my research, two papers, one in Melbourne at the Financial Management Association Asia Pacific Conference held in December 11th to 13th. 2022 in Melbourne, Australia. And the paper I presented at that conference was titled, Will Artificial Intelligence Define the New Era of financial services. This research was collaborative with professors and graduate students, doctoral students and master's students from both Boston University and also from St. Cyril and Methodius University in Skopje, Macedonia. And we have long-lasting research collaboration with the university, namely with the FINCI, the Faculty of Computer Science and Engineering, but also we have contacts with the Economic Institute in Skopje as well. So this was Melbourne in the first half of the week, and then I quickly transferred to Sydney for the second part of the week, and the other conference where I presented a paper yesterday is the traditional Australasian Finance and Banking Conference. And this is organized by the University of New South Wales, the business school at the university. And the Melbourne conference was organized by Monash University. So we were on the Caulfield campus of Monash University for the Melbourne conference, and the Sydney conference was on the University of New South Wales campus here in Sydney. And the paper that I presented in Sydney is on the role of renewable energy in sustainable economic growth. And we looked into European countries, both old and new Europe, meaning to understand whether there are differences in how the old European countries, namely the countries who were part of the European Union for longer, or the new European countries that joined the European Union after 2004, 2005, 6, and 7, and until these days, how they approach using renewable energy, how the using renewable energy versus using non-renewable energy affect economic growth. So there is a lot of discussion these days, of course, on in the energy space, and one of the questions that provokes lots of attention and discussion is where do we go from here? Will we be able to actually transition from non-renewable energy to renewable energy? And I'm currently part of a project that is sponsored, funded by the Boston University Institute for Global Sustainability in partnership with the Hariri Center for Computing and Engineering. And this project is about climate change and about the question of how disinformation about climate change that we see on social media or native advertising by corporations can affect and form public opinion. So as part of this project, I also was in the position to be able to travel to Egypt in November to attend the COP27 meeting in Sharm el-Sheikh, where heads of governments gathered together and grappled with questions such as what the future of energy is. Mm-hmm. So firsthand, we understand that concerted global action is needed to put the brakes on global warming and save the planet. The COP27 deal endorsed the global commitment to limit temperature rise to below 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. The pledge reinforced action by countries to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Excuse me. And then to adjust to the expected impact on climate change. So the governments can just do so much. And what's really important is for the corporations to get on board. And to enhance the financial institutions, to enhance the financial support, to invest in innovative technologies, capacity building. And so it disappointed countries pushing to phase out fossil fuels. So the deal was only talking about phasing out coal, not all the fossil fuels.
Yes, coal, that's right, yes. Yes, I shall do the same, Irena. Thank you. Yes, that was the, you mentioned part of your project, which involved visiting the important meeting that was held in Egypt recently. Yes, and may I please now ask you, how does your experience and expertise in investment banking inform the curriculum for your university's graduate programs in financial management?
Right. So as I mentioned, we changed significantly our programs, and I'll give you an example. I also mentioned that I worked in the industry before going in academia. So I believe that it's very important for academics to be in touch with the real world. I believe it's important to be in line with the current issues, problems, challenges of the real world, and bring that to the classroom. So we do now have, for example, one of the newest courses that we developed is the ESG investing that I mentioned, and to bring this in front of the students for them to understand that in addition to the regular investing practices where there is a fiduciary duty towards the customer, where there is a working in the best interest of the customer, and where the strive is to reduce the risk of investment portfolios and increase return. So it's an optimization problem. In addition, not only that the shareholders are looked after, but also corporations now have responsibilities to make important efforts to be good for their environment, to be good for their workers, to be very good stewards in governance. So they are more than one stakeholder, so to speak. So this holistic way of investing is something that we are introducing in the program. On the more traditional investment management course, for example, we will take a portfolio and create paper money for each student. Everybody will get $10 million at the beginning of the semester. And then as we study different securities, we study stocks and bonds, then derivative securities like options and futures. As they learn about these instruments, they invest in the real market. We have access to this paper account has access to international markets and different type of securities markets. So students are able to invest, justify their investments, do research about what they invested in, then hedge their portfolios to reduce the risk. And all that comes to really one holistic view of the investment process. And at the end of the semester, we will see the best performers, and the students need to present and give us justification of why they made the decisions they made. Also address maybe challenges or mistakes they made. So it's much better for them to make those mistakes with the paper money before they go later in the real world. So we do bring a lot of real world in the classroom and in the research projects in all of our programs.
And how do these concepts that students learn in the university's financial management graduate programs really, how do they apply in practice?
So when the students learn what is happening in the real world, then the transition for them from being a master's student in a specialized program to going to the company and contributing is seamless. We have many different ways to give students these opportunities, such as curricular practical training, or they have optional practical training, especially for international students at the end of the master's degree. They can take concepts. They can take project results. They can take their data analysis because they're current, and actually export them to the corporations or the financial institutions where they will be working in their career. So we do get feedback from students often saying, the project that I did with Professor so-and-so really opened the door for me to this great company, and I got this job. So we like to feature this feedback in our newsletters, we put them on our website, and students keep in touch with us. It's very important, and it's a well-developed practice in the United States universities to, when students graduate, to stay in touch with the university, as the alumni associations are very strong. So then the students themselves in the future are giving these opportunities to the future generations. So because they have benefited from projects and from connections with the industry, then they give back in a way, not just with their money or time, but also with networking and connections.
Excellent. How do countries, in particular the United States, Professor, prepare to withstand recessions and financial crises, which have the potential to impact on our interconnected global economy?
Right. These days, we can say with high level of certainty that no country is an island, and we really live in a very global world. There is a lot of discussion these days about the current state of the economy, and the inflation being a big concern. People notice price increases of products that they use on daily basis, and the question is whether we're heading toward another crisis period, what will the near future hold for the global economy, and how will people and families be affected? And it's a natural question. The current direction is we also have to be aware that we just went through a global pandemic, and that is also not something that didn't leave its mark, not just on people and families, but also on the healthcare system. But it is also very much an economic issue as well, because there were major disruptions in the economies while the pandemic was in full speed. So even though now we are getting out of it, and we see that people are recovering, we are still seeing the lingering effects of something called long COVID, and people may have certain lingering musculoskeletal issues, or they may have some mental issues like depression or anxiety, and they don't necessarily feel ready to go back to the workforce. So these is all connected, and right now with the inflation, the job of the central banks is really to bring back the stability or the faith in the economic growth, and they have been increasing the interest rates. For example, the U.S. Federal Reserve raised its benchmark interest rate by half a percentage point on Wednesday, but that increase followed 4 other increases by 3/4 of a point. So we see the slowdown of the increases. The European Central Bank followed suit. They also raised the rates. The Bank of England raised the rates. However, when we have this certainty in a way that is taken in consideration, we may have this period of short-term suffering economic-wise, or we may see unemployment also increasing in some parts of the world. But in general, I think we are poised to actually have a very brief period of economic suffering, so to speak, and so that for the longer term, we are in a good way growing. So, for example, Australia in the third quarter, the GDP grew, the gross domestic product grew by 0.6% in the September quarter, and it's poised to grow annually at a rate of 5.9%, which is a very healthy growth as the economy recovers slowly but surely. So another question is on the energy prices, and people are concerned about gas prices and again, this dependency on fossil fuels. So it's not only economic issue, actually the energy is also very much of a political issue around the world. And so countries do need to collaborate and help each other in this time. It's Australia is really a very good partner to the United States, especially in the context of the current U.S. challenges with Russia, or the challenges of the United States with China. So Australia provides some stability in that context, being close to these countries.
Yes. And based on your knowledge and your experience, what can Australia learn, or what does it need to do to prepare themselves for any potential economic challenges?
So what's the most important, I think, for one country is the country leadership. And I think that the new leadership in Australia, you have a new Prime Minister this year, Anthony Albanese. He is, I'm not an expert in Australian politics, but from what I've been reading or talking with my Australian friends, a much better option for the future of Australia compared to the recent past. I don't want to mention any names, but in a way, when you have this transition from a place where a country has been really, I would say, maybe under not such a good leadership, transitioning to a better leadership, that is very important for the future, not just politically, but economically. So again, I'm really optimistic that these questions that we're talking about, they're also not only Australian questions, they're global questions. So working all together, we're all in the same either currently problematic economic state, but working together towards getting to a better place economically. And for the energy, for example, while it's a big battle between, of course, people who believe that we will never get to be independent from fossil fuels, or people who believe that we have to actually work quicker and faster towards renewable energies. I just wanted to mention the very, very important, very significant breakthrough just announced on the 5th of December by the Department of Energy, that they have achieved a fusion ignition at the Department of Energy's Lawrence Livermore lab. And so this breakthrough will change the future of clean power, of clean energy, enhance the future of the economy, and hopefully contribute to the better future for our planet.
Well, on that note, Professor Irena Vodenska, I thank you for this interview, and I look forward to speaking with you on another occasion. May I wish you a safe trip home to the United States of America, and thank you for visiting us. Thank you for speaking with me today.
Thank you very much, Silvana. I also wanted to say happy holidays to all the listeners. It's that time of the year, and it's very unusual for me to see Christmas time without snow, but it's a very nice weather here in Sydney, and I wish everybody a great rest of the day.
We've been speaking with Professor Irena Vodenska from Boston University, United States of America. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you.